It is May 5th, the 4 p.m. session. Okay, so 5 minutes is up. You may now begin your group discussions and come up with your team's answers. Once you're done, please inform me and I'll collect your team's answer sheet.
Does anyone? So, are we allowed to say what the clue said to each other?
Yes, you can speak about them, yeah.
Okay, so let's start. Are we allowed to look back at them? Sorry.
You are.
Okay.
Okay, can we write stuff down?
The only thing you can write is your final answers.
Okay.
Okay.
How about we start with the earliest time that someone has?
Mine said 11:55, I believe.
I had 12:25 a.m. So,
I have 11:30.
so you're
So I
support.
guess mine's first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly's wife go to Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30 p.m.
Okay.
Okay. No.
And what time was yours at?
So there's a midnight one, and that was, we're allowed to look back at the clues, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, that there was, Mr. Jones shot an intruder in the building at 12.
Wait, he shot someone?
He shot an intruder, but, Mr. Kelly was reported being seen at 12:15 after the shot was fired.
Okay.
Okay.
Mine said at 12:25. I think it was the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly again, and he was like a little bit bloody, but he was fine.
Oh, I also have the 11:55 one. Mrs. Smith saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Jones' apartment at 11:55.
Wait, can you repeat that? Sorry.
So Miss Smith saw
Mhm.
Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Jones' apartment at 11:55.
Okay. The guy went to the guy's apartment?
Yeah,
Okay.
from what I've read, I have a feeling that he was shot, but he didn't die from the shot,
Okay.
and then was probably stabbed, and that's what killed him.
Okay.
So that's just what I'm feeling so far. But
I
then,
have no idea, personally. But,
from what my clues say, that's what I'm feeling.
Okay.
what time? Yours was at
The first time I have is 11:55,
Okay.
where you saw going into an apartment.
I have 12:25. It was actually the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25.
Okay. And at 12:30, the elevator man goes off duty. Then the
At what
elevator
time?
Man, the elevator man came.
12:30.
12:30.
Yeah.
Mrs. Smith said nobody left the apartment building between 12:25 and 12:45. So he got off duty, but he didn't leave until at least 12:45.
So he was still there, the
Yeah.
elevator man. Okay.
Yeah.
Chilling.
Um,
Okay, so
does anyone have anything after 12:30?
no.
Just
Okay.
until 12:45, no one left. So.
I have Mr. Kelly's body was found at 1:30 a.m.
Oh wow.
And also that Mr. Kelly had been dead for 1 hour.
I
So-
have that his body was found in the park.
That was
I
that?
Well,
have.
he was, it just says found in the park.
It was obvious from the condition of his body that he's been dragged for a very long distance.
So he didn't die at the park.
No. And then that there was a knife with Mr. Kelly's blood on it found in Mrs. Smith's yard.
In Mr. Smith's.
Miss Smith's yard.
Okay, the knife found in Miss Smith's yard had Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it.
Okay.
Interesting.
This is
There's
Scott.
so many. There's like 5,000 people.
Oh my goodness.
Cause mine are, it's either between, at least based on my clues, Mr. Jones and Mr. Scott.
Mhm.
Yours has Miss Smith, Mr. Smith, I don't know.
Miss Smith.
That's very confusing, okay.
Also, the police were unable to locate Mr. Scott after the murder.
Okay.
And when the police tried to locate Mr. Jones, they couldn't find him.
What about the elevator man?
The last thing I have the elevator man was that he went off duty at 12:30.
Okay.
I have that, where is it? Mr. Kelly's wife disappeared after the murder as well.
So Mr. Kelly's dead.
Yeah, he's the one who's dead.
He's
Yours-
definitely dead.
He was shot and he was stabbed, because that's what I
Yes.
have, that he
Okay.
had a bullet hole in his leg, so it didn't kill him, most likely.
Okay.
And then he had a stab wound in his back,
Um,
which is probably
seems
what
more
killed him.
fatal.
Unless he bled out, but I really doubt that, because he was dragged.
I have that the bullet taken from his thigh matched the gun owned by Mr. Jones.
Okay.
Wait, and Mr. Jones was the guy who shot
Yes,
someone,
Yes,
So Jones definitely shot him, but it didn't kill him.
right.
but he did shoot him.
He did shoot him.
And
Yeah.
what time was that then?
So the shot was heard at Mr. Jones shot an intruder in his apartment building at midnight.
At
An
midnight?
intruder.
An intruder is what it says, but I have a feeling it was him and he got shot. Mr. Kelly.
Is there any other relationship between Mr. Kelly and Mr. Jones that you guys have?
Yes. Mr. Kelly had destroyed Mr. Jones's business by stealing all of his customers.
Okay.
Police motive, so
Let's see. Mr. Kelly's bloodstains were found on the carpet in the hall outside Mr. Jones's apartment.
Okay, so that kind of connects then. So Mr. Kelly's trying to. Wait, what happened to Mr. Kelly and Mr. Jones?
He had destroyed Mr. Jones's business by stealing all of his customers.
So why would he go back?
well, the thing is,
Mr.
There's-
Kelly stole Mr. Jones's customers, right?
yeah. So he obviously went back to talk to him for some reason.
Okay.
Who knows why? Was shot in the leg, which.
Right. So that's what it.
But he didn't leave then because he was then seen at 12:55 by the elevator man.
12:55.
12:15, sorry. Because the elevator operator
11:30.
reported that he saw him at
Oh, wait.
12:15. So he's not dead yet at 12:15.
And what time was the body found?
1:30,
And
but
had been
he'd
dead
been there for an
now.
hour. So
Yeah.
so the death happened at 12:30.
The elevator man saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25.
Wait, can we put that down
Mr.
to the time of
Scott's.
the murder then? If we know that, I think that's enough information. If
Well,
the,
yeah, so if he said he's been dead for an hour, then yeah, put that as the time.
right?
Yes, 12:25 or
So
12:30.
12:30,
Yeah, that as the
I mean, if that's when it occurred, Mr.
So-
Kelly was in Mr. Scott's room.
Mr. Scott's room, okay.
I also have info about his wife. That's weird.
About whose wife?
Mr. Kelly's wife. So she might be.
Okay.
What was it?
I mean, there was also like he was stabbed in the back, so at some point he was stabbed.
His wife's a backstabber.
Also, I have that Mr. Kelly's bloodstains were found in Mr. Scott's car, and
In his car.
Yeah, and if his body was transported to the park.
Wait,
'cause
you also
But
have
his
something.
body was dragged a very long distance, it says.
that is- oh my goodness.
So unless like his body was dragged from like the building
add this.
into the car,
So, or maybe the building to the car, and then the park itself is dragged.
He dragged him through the park
Through the
to
park.
wherever,
through the park.
from
okay.
like wherever the parking
But then how
lot
does
was.
the knife with blood on it get in
Near
Miss
the body?
Smith's yard? It's in the woman's yard.
Did he maybe bury it there?
Hide evidence. Well, maybe whoever did kill the person is trying to frame Smith, because Smith's the one who shot him. No?
Mr. Jones was the one that shot him.
Oh crap!
Yeah.
Look, I was going somewhere.
Plus, it's like the fact that no one left the building between 12:25, the point of like what we're seeing the murders 12:30 and 12:45. So they didn't leave for another like 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Or how about? So we know this happened at 12:30, right?
Yes.
Who's safe? At 12:30, like who has an alibi that's? Because we're throwing around all these names, but
Why don't we try to organize it by, we can each say what evidence is against Mr. Jones, what evidence is against Mr.
Yeah.
Miss Smith, and what evidence is against Mr. Scott.
right.
That way we can kind of just organize.
But if we know that they were doing something at 12:30, we don't
Mhm.
even need to do that.
True.
I get what you're saying. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if we do that and then after follow what you were saying, then
Mhm.
I think. What do you guys? I don't know. 'Cause I know, the elevator.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's not Mr. Jones. One, because when the shot was heard at midnight,
Okay.
his gun also he only fired one bullet. So there's no way he could have shot him again, or like, unless he used a knife. But I'm pretty sure it's not Mr. Jones. Even though he does have motive, he, like, from what it sounds like,
He didn't shoot
he
the
met
girl.
too many other people before he died for it to be
Okay.
the first guy.
And that was 11:30. You said.
Yeah.
Right.
The shot was at midnight,
Okay.
so that's a half an hour before he died.
Right. That's Mr. Jones.
Mr.
Mhm.
Jones, yeah.
Okay.
And there was only one, like, shot fired.
Okay. The elevator man went off duty at 12:30, so I don't think he could have killed him if he went off duty at that specific time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
He could have been on duty, though, to kill him, because
Oh.
we know no one left at that time.
Mhm.
Like, he didn't leave yet. but he's still in the building.
Wait, sorry, Mr. Scott's the one who shot.
No,
Mr. Jones is the one who shot him.
So who's Mr. Scott?
I don't know. I don't have anything about him.
Do you have
Miss-
anything about Mr. Scott?
Yes, Mr. Scott. Mr. Kelly's bloodstains were found in Mr. Scott's car. The elevator man saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25 a.m. right before the time of death, and I think that was actually it.
I also have the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly's wife go to Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30. So his wife goes to Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30,
At the time of death.
or 1 hour
It
before.
was
an hour before the time
And
of death.
then what happened after that? Sorry.
I have the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25 a.m. And Mr. Kelly's wife disappeared after the murder.
So his wife's also like.
Wait, what time did Mr. Kelly go to his room?
12:25 a.m. Like 5 minutes
Right
before
he
was
died.
supposed to die.
Okay.
He went to
Mr. Scott's room.
Mr. Scott's
Oh,
room.
and Mrs. Kelly's in Mr. Scott's room. Assuming she didn't leave.
Yeah, if she didn't leave. But she does know that no one left the apartment between 12:25 and 12:45.
Who
so
knows that?
she's Miss Smith.
Oh, okay.
So she knows no one left between that time, but beforehand I don't know.
Who is Miss Smith?
Yeah.
So she, the bloody knife was found in her yard. The elevator man said that Miss Smith was in the lobby of the apartment during, when he went off duty. So she was still there when he left. Or
And
went
I
off
also
duty.
have Miss Smith often followed Mr. Kelly. I don't know why, but I
That's
guess
kinda creepy.
that's creepy. But I think that
Um,
makes whatever she's saying like legit.
So she definitely knows, like, she was in the building at the time.
Mm. So I guess my question, I mean, what I'm thinking happened is, Mr. Kelly's wife was cheating on Mr. Kelly in Mr. Scott's apartment, and then Mr. Kelly went to confront Mr. Scott. Maybe he kind of had some idea. So he went in at 11. What time was it? 12:25.
12:25.
So it was 5 minutes before he died,
Yeah.
and then we don't know what. And then
How was he? You said
wait, but he got shot at 12.
He was shot at 12. So he was wounded in the leg,
So why would he go?
which would make sense why there'd be blood in his room.
But the question is why he even go there to
Well,
confront.
they had like issues like with the business. You said.
yeah, but why would he go to Mr. Scott's room after being shot in the leg?
I have
think
no
I would go to
idea.
the
Hospital.
hospital.
But then afterwards he was stabbed. So because he had a stab wound in his back,
You're
which
right.
I'm pretty sure is what killed him. 'Cause there's no other like means
Unless he
bled out.
or he knew his wife was there. Because if he knew his wife was
Yeah,
in
because
their
he could have been
apartment-
shot and then saw her.
Yeah, I guess it's too
It's,
vague.
Not enough details,
Yeah, there's not enough info for that. So should we say the weapon was the gun? No, the knife.
yeah, I'm pretty sure just a knife, unless you guys think he
I don't think he bled to
bled
death.
out. But
Because if he bled out, why would he get stabbed?
yeah, very true. The stab most likely killed
Should
him.
we go with the knife then?
If he got shot first, definitely, because if he got shot in the only way he would have died immediately is if
Oh,
he got
like
shot
femoral artery.
right
Yeah.
there, and then he would have died instantly.
Yeah,
so
but I doubt
clearly,
it.
whatever.
He was fine.
Yeah, he
So-
was.
He was probably limping, but he was fine.
So is it okay if we use knife?
Yes.
As
Yeah, I agree with
Because
that.
I feel like if we move slowly with this, we kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to know
The place of the murder, I would say Mr. Scott's apartment. Since
That's
it's-
where.
That makes sense. Plus, no one left the apartment until 12:45 at least. So
Yeah.
And he
he-
went in at 12:25.
And he
right?
died.
and he died at 12:30. So it's
Yeah.
definitely
I agree. Right, are we all in
Yeah.
concordance?
Yes.
Okay. So now the two big questions: the murderer and the motive.
Were there any fingerprints found on the knife? I don't have anything about the knife.
The knife found in Mrs. Smith's yard had Mr. Scott's fingerprints.
and Mr. Kelly's blood. So it was definitely the murder weapon, but it had Scott's fingerprints on it.
But the knife could have been. Well, the knife could have been.
It could have been his, and
Yeah.
someone else used it,
Right.
not just.
Because if he got killed in Mr. Scott's apartment, anything you grab from his apartment's gonna have his fingerprints.
But it would also might probably. I mean, they could have worn a glove, obviously, but it would possibly also have their fingerprints on it as well.
So I personally think it'll be between the wife and Mr. Scott. So I think there's only two people in the room. No.
And yeah, from what I've gathered.
Unless the elevator man.
Which he doesn't really have an alibi at all, so it's
Elevator
like
man?
hard, yeah. Like all that we know that he went off duty
At 12:30.
at 12:30, which was technically the time of the murder, so I guess technically that's like an alibi because like he had to clock
He's
out.
working,
He would
yeah.
have
He did see Mrs. Kelly when like after he clocked out.
And Mr. Worf's
But no one left until 12:45. So even after he clocked out, he was still in the building for 15 minutes more.
So we know that at 12:30
Mhm.
we know that Mr. Scott's in his apartment. His wife, and when I say his wife, the
Yeah.
guy's wife, is in the same apartment building.
Mrs. Kelly's still there because again, no one left, and so is the elevator man.
Right. Is there anyone else that?
Smith, probably.
What was
But
that?
she's just kind of a witness.
Miss Smith.
She's there. She's just there.
But it says Miss Smith often followed Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, which is creepy.
So, what's that even mean? Like, what was the
Well,
point?
Probably she stalked him.
Yeah, probably.
But like, do you guys don't have any other information about Miss Smith?
I don't have anything about
The
her.
only thing I have is that a knife with his blood was found in her yard. She said no one left the apartment between 12:25 and 12:45, and that she was in the lobby of the apartment building when the elevator man went off duty at 12:30.
So she
And they
could,
all live in the same building?
Yeah.
but they can't because the yard.
Yeah, I don't know why it says yard.
Yeah, she.
But
must
she's just hanging out at this apartment, I
have
guess.
midnight.
But if he went off, it says he went off duty at 12:30, right?
Yeah, so she's in the
She's
lobby
in the lobby at
watching.
12:30.
She saw him go,
So the two of them
Right.
saw each other at 12:30.
and he didn't. Unless-
So I'm guessing it can't be either of them if he died at 12:30.
Right. So if it can't be, we know it's not the elevator man. We know it's not Miss Smith.
She saw him at 12:30?
It says elevator man said that Miss Smith was in the lobby of the apartment building when he went off duty.
And he went off duty at 12:30. Okay,
So then-
so I
so
thought you
neither
meant
of them-
Mr. Kelly saw her.
No.
I was like, he should be
what?
dead then.
So then neither of them are in the room.
Plus, I don't think it could be Miss Smith because his body was dragged for a very long time, and not to like say anything about women, but I
Mhm.
doubt she's gonna be strong enough to drag a body. So I'm gonna guess it's most likely a guy.
I don't know. I mean, if you're solely basing it on these hints, like we don't know how big this guy is. How
Yeah,
she could be like a
exactly. I
freaking
know, she
wrestler.
could be big.
We don't know.
She could be strong.
Yeah. But also it's weird. Police were unable to locate Mr. Scott after the murder.
Which is
Or-
sketchy.
Mr. Kelly's wife.
Really? So they both ran away. I'm guessing. When police tried to locate Mr. Jones, they discovered he had disappeared.
They're all like literally disappeared.
Yeah.
What's that mean though? Like, why would one hint say that they were unable to locate, and then the other hint say that he disappeared? Do you think they mean the same thing, or are they trying to?
It's
They probably just
similar,
means the same
but
thing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird.
I mean, Mr. Jones could just run off because he shot someone.
Yeah. Wait, how do we know he shot someone?
Said that he had
Just
shot an intruder in the apartment.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr.
And-
Jones shot an intruder at midnight,
Right.
and then
The
only
bullet.
one bullet was fired from his gun.
And the bullet in Mr. Kelly's thigh was matched Mr. Jones's gun.
So.
I mean,
So Mr. Jones freaked out and he left because he shot someone.
Mhm.
Then Mr. Scott and his wife ran away because they were scared.
Probably having an affair, and they decided to take off.
Right. So let's assume the murderer is.
I'm gonna guess it's Mr. Scott.
So let's assume it's Mr. Scott.
Okay.
What would his motive be?
did anyone have any clues about like their relationship? Were they friends? Were they?
No, I don't have anything about him at all. So.
Me neither. But if Mr. Scott really liked his wife, then
It's just like inferring that's what
And I
might
have
have
that
happened.
Bloodstains were found. In
I
his
just don't know
car.
how the knife was. Why the knife was found in Miss Smith's yard.
He could have just buried it there, just to frame her possibly.
Because
If he
if
knows.
Miss Smith's a stalker,
Especially because she's a stalker. Yeah, that's probably why he
just
did it to
frame
like.
it.
Okay, that makes sense.
The only thing is I don't understand what the motive would be.
They just wanted him out of the way.
There's
Oh.
like no clear motive.
Because Mr. Kelly's wife and Mr. Scott wanted to be together. I don't know. Does anyone have anything saying about the relationship between Mr. Kelly and Mrs. Kelly?
No?
No. I do have the elevator operator said that Mr. Clay's wife frequently left the building with Mr. Scott.
So they were having an affair.
Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna fair then.
So they're having their thing. But yeah, there's nothing about their relationship, Mr. and Mrs. Kelly.
No. And mine doesn't mention Mrs. Kelly or Mr. Scott at all, so I just, like, from what I have, it can't be the elevator man or Miss Smith because they're both in the lobby at the time of death.
Right.
So,
So who do we think is the murderer?
I think we're between
Mrs. Kelly.
and
Mr. Scott.
I mean, technically, going off of what we have, there's no reason to believe that Mrs. Kelly was the one that stabbed him because her fingerprints weren't
On the knife.
on the knife.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because it's Mr. Scott's apartment, everything's gonna have this thing. Because you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But I mean, if she touched the knife, it would have her fingerprints as well. And if they were like together in on this, you would think that they would think to wipe the fingerprints off. But I mean, that's a
Yeah,
whole.
I don't know. Cause I feel like the only issue with that logic is that that hint alone would tell you everything. Then, right? You know what I mean? That one hint tells you who the murderer is, who the motive is, or what the weapon is. And I don't think this is that easy to wear. You know what I'm saying? One hint would tell you 3 of the 5 things we need to find.
I don't know.
Now, I'm not trying to like shoot you down.
No, I know, but I mean,
But-
like if we don't know anything else for certain
Yeah.
other than that,
No, I'm pretty sure it's Mr. Scott, just
I would
because
say
again,
it's Mr. Scott as
he was
well.
dragged for a really long distance.
Do we know anything about Miss Smith and anyone else?
No, she was in the apartment building at the time of death, but she also was seen by the elevator man when he clocked out,
That you don't know information.
which was at 12:30.
Mhm.
The bloody knife was found in her yard, which we can assume that he was just trying to frame her, especially if he knew that she was stalking him, because then that makes a lot of sense.
And what to say about Miss Kelly after the murder?
She disappeared.
So Scott and Kelly disappeared.
And Mr. Jones.
See, here's the thing though, the wording.
Well, obviously Jones is gonna disappear because he just shot a guy.
But the thing
He's dead.
is, in my hands, right? Mr. Jones disappeared, but for Mr. Scott, they said they couldn't find him. But the word disappeared is used for Mr. Jones and for Mrs. Kelly. I would assume
Yeah.
that it wouldn't be those. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because it says that Mr. Scott was unable to be located, so they can't even find him.
that sounds a little like
But for Mr. Jones and for Miss Kelly,
they used the
they,
word
they
disappearing.
know that they disappeared.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
So they know that they actually like left.
Right, they're trying to hide.
Okay, that's different.
So I think it's different than just.
Because it's very possible if Mr. Scott had killed Mr. Kelly, and she was in the room, she may not have wanted it to happen, and so she ran away in fear.
Right.
But they know for a fact that she did like leave.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's
It's the
yeah.
wife.
That's my feeling like that
'Cause-
he killed her. I mean,
She killed
she.
him. I was
wow.
like, what?
No, he killed him. Wow.
I was thinking that she killed him.
Oh, I think Mr. Scott did.
I
Yeah.
definitely think Mr. Scott did as well, but
So why would the wife disappear then?
Because she just witnessed a murder, or she's afraid of Mr. Scott, like he just killed like her husband. It makes sense.
That's true. That makes sense. I guess we can't go the other way then. Like it wouldn't make sense. Like, there's no proof.
Plus, there's just not a lot of details about Mrs. Kelly, so it's just like
you can't make something.
there's
out of
nothing like
nothing.
really connecting her
Yeah.
besides the fact that she was like in the building, and we're pretty sure they were having an affair.
So should we go with Mr. Scott
I
and,
believe so.
and then jealousy?
As a motive.
Yeah. The fact that you can't have.
Or he was having an affair with Mrs. Kelly, or
But like the motive would be,
I guess.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, jealousy, I guess is the right word.
Spell it right. Jealousy.
Is that a L before, or is that just
Jeal. You got it. Yeah, need her handwriting. Yeah.
Are you gonna tell us the answers? Because I actually kind of really want to know now.